what's up guys? Today we have an interesting Spyderco comparison. We have the Spyderco Leafjumper versus the Stretch 2. The Stretch 2 is a super popular knife currently in Spyderco's lineup. I guess the main reason for that being it is a very handy size with a 3.5-inch blade, and it looks good. It's an improvement visually speaking over the original Stretch, and it's kind of a PM2 with a backlock and the thinner blade stock and more belly. So it's a good Spyderco design. And the Leafjumper was quite the opposite. It was not very popular, flew quite under the radar. Nobody really talked about it. Nobody even knew about it. I of course saw it ever once in a while in a store, but I never really looked at it as like a good Spyderco. And boy was I wrong, because eventually I said, hey, let's try out the Leafjumper. And the Leafjumper, in my opinion, is the most underrated Spyderco ever in existence. Well, actually, it does not exist anymore. It has been discontinued. Now, if you can see them side by side, you can see the Stretch with the 3.5-inch blade, which is 9 centimeters, and the Leafjumper, which has an 8 centimeter blade, actually share the exact same cutting edge length. So these knives, effectively speaking, have the same potential. Where they differ is that the Leafjumper has a full handle that it gives you, and the Stretch gives you an additional choil. Now, in terms of grip length, they are basically identical, and I would also say in comfort, they are pretty identical. I might even give the Leafjumper just an edge. You know, it is slightly bit more comfortable, but they are about the same in terms of comfort. Both of these are nice and contoured on these K390 FRN scales. I really like the Spyderco FRN scales. I think they're just fantastic. They are good, they are lightweight, they're comfortable because they're more contoured than the G10. So the Stretch is 3.5 ounces, which is 103 grams. And then we have the Leafjumper, which saves you 20 grams. It's 2.8 ounces in weight. So it's quite a bit lighter. And I think it also carries slightly better in pocket because of the way the pocket clip sits. The pocket clip of the Stretch sits just a little bit higher, and the Leafjumper has just a little bit of a nicer positioning, I think. So in terms of carry, in terms of weight, I would give it to the Leafjumper. Now the main difference here is going to be how you cut with these knives. You can see that the Stretch has quite a good negative angle, so you drag things into that belly. If you cut like this, right, the belly is going to do most of your work. Also because the tip is at a certain point, you have to raise the entire knife quite high to cut with the tip. So you are going to cut with the belly much more often than with the tip. And so this is either a push cut knife for you or dragging the belly across the surface, whereas the Leafjumper has a lower tip, so you can cut with the tip a little bit nicer and more precisely. And then if you push it like this, you pull things into that continuous curvature of the cutting edge, which is something I quite like, this continuous sweep along the cutting edge. If this was a plain edge, it would go over the stone really nicely if you would sharpen this. In this case with the serrations, this knife stays sharp for a super long time in combination with that K390. So both of these have the K390 steel. So in terms of performance, I mean, it's pretty similar. Both of these have a super high edge retention, decent amount of toughness. Not the best in corrosion resistance, but they form a nice patina pretty quickly. So they get this darkish, bluish kind of patina going on that protects it from rust. But of course, you know, these are blades that will rust on you if you don't take care of them. I personally just use them, and as long as you keep using them and they don't sit in a drawer, they will not rust overly quickly. But yeah, in terms of the difference between plain edge and serrations, well, serrations have that dragging and tearing things. They are really good if you want to make sure that that cut gets finished, right? Because the serrations just keep grabbing the material, whereas the plain edge is good for nice fine slices. So in terms of sizing, the Stretch is really in that same size range as a Spyderco Manix and PM2, being a slight improvement in many ways over the PM2. And yeah, this knife has the same overall size and cutting edge length, so it comes with the same benefits and drawbacks. The drawbacks being they are very wide in pocket and they have quite a short cutting edge for their overall size, but being good to carry because they are all relatively thin and decently lightweight for how big they are. The Leafjumper, on the other hand, is that bridge between medium-sized Spydercos and small-sized Spydercos. Very similar actually in overall length to the Spyderco Native and Sage. These are the in-between sized knives. The best thing about the Leafjumper here is that it offers you much more cutting edge than all of these because they waste so much space on the choil, and the overall handle is much bigger and a lot more comfortable. So with the Leafjumper you get the comfort of a larger knife, but the overall carrying profile and weight of a smaller knife, which is great. So I think the Leafjumper is really such a versatile tool. The build quality on the Stretch model, or in general on some of the newer Seiki City Spydercos, there is a lot of blade centering issues and blade wobble. I'm not sure why that is, but it seems to appear much more often in the Stretch lineup is what I have noticed. And the Leafjumper is as solid as can be. There is really no blade play or any blade centering issues. And for some reason, because there is no indent here, you can also flick the backlock close, which is also not possible on the Stretch. So this is super fun in terms of that. So this one is much more traditional in terms of closing. I guess if I really try I can do it, but it's not as enjoyable as with the Leafjumper. Let's try that again. Oh yeah, it's definitely doable. But it's putting a lot of, I don't know, weird twists on my index finger. So with this one it's just much more natural. So yeah, both of these knives are fantastic. I forgot to talk about the construction. Construction is basically the same. Lots of T6s and a T8. Not my favorite construction, outdated, but if you don't take these knives apart too often, you should be fine. But you cannot really go wrong with a Stretch. The Stretch is a solid knife. It's a solid performer. It looks really good. It's the blend between a traditional knife in terms of blade profile and shape, but then it has all the features of a modern pocket knife. It has a clip, it has an ergonomic lightweight handle, and it has a super high performance blade steel with that K390. So the Stretch is a fantastic knife on its own, and I've done many videos about the Stretch, and I think it's just a really good carry. But when it comes down to choosing one, I really like the Leafjumper because I like the way how it feels, how it looks, and how it cuts. And I also feel like it lets me get rid of a lot of Spydercos that I don't really need, because it combines the features of those medium-sized knives in terms of grip length, cutting edge length, and then it beats most of the in-between sized knives like the Native and the Sage, because you don't really need any of these if you already have a Leafjumper. And then you also do not need many of the smaller Spydercos anymore, because you get the same overall profile. So the Leafjumper is just so unique because it lets you get rid of many knives and combines them into just one particular knife. And therefore, in my opinion, this is probably even one of the single best Spydercos there is.